the way coaches are played,
Yes.
the way you should run a program, how you can profit from women's basketball, the empowerment of women, the uplifting of women.
Hmm.
What type of impact, if you can sum everything up, like what type of impact did Pat leave pretty much in the world?
Wow. I mean, I feel like a lot of impact was made by her. First of all, one of her stated goals was that she wanted the women who played for her to become independent. That was very important to her. It's very apropos we're recording this on Independence Day
Yeah,
because that
ironically.
was something that she stressed very heavily is that she wanted the women who played for her to become independent. Also, I think one of the things this happens a lot in business, I feel like if you care about the people around you, that's viewed as a weakness. But in everything that I've read about Pat Summitt, that was truly one of her strengths is that she was tough but fair and she cared about her players and everyone around her. I listened
She
to it.
was a bulldog.
Yes. Oh yes. I mean,
She was
if
the meanest female coach I've ever seen.
yes, and if you go on Google Images, you'll see 1,000 photos of that stare.
Yeah, that stare was cold.
Yes.
I was trying to get a few images for the podcast, and I was like,
Oh yeah.
whoa, I couldn't imagine somebody staring at me like that. Like I'm completely stopping what I'm doing. And yes, ma'am, I'm sorry, ma'am.
Well, and that was her intention. I think with that look was to communicate very clearly, non-verbally, you're not doing something I like right now.
And now what? I know you mentioned this to me yesterday, but I couldn't find the information on it. With Holscrawl, dealing with depression, and
Yes.
I personally know what that feels like. Let the listeners know what type of impact that she made on her life.
Oh wow. I listened to this and I found it. I couldn't find it again yesterday either. But Shamika Holsclaw suffered from depression starting when she was in college. Pat Summitt referred her to a psychologist when she was still in college, and then followed up with her throughout her life to see how she was doing. And when she got into some legal trouble a few years ago in 2013, and when that happened, one of the first people that called Shamika Holdsclaw was Coach Summitt, just to follow up and say, like, you are greater than this, and please get the help you need because I love you and I care about you, and just to say that she deserved to have that help and get better.
Mm.
And she just talked about how big of an impact that made on her life, about how Coach Summitt did things to change her life in general, not just her play as a basketball player, but her as a person. It was it was phenomenal. I mean, that really touched me. But honestly, a lot of the players who played for her said the same thing. She kept in touch even after they stopped playing at Tennessee, and she truly cared about the people around her. She was tough, but she also cared a great deal.
That's what, to me, that separates you from the norm. In life, I think we should look at it like, how do you separate yourself from the norm?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I try to do with this podcast. Every episode, I at least, I definitely, it's about sports. I want to have one show strictly about sports where we're just talking about what happened. But the second show, I want to enlighten you guys. How can I separate this show from the norm? So I feel like the educational podcast that we have as our second shows is it's what separates me. I think in life, if you guys don't take anything away from this podcast, you should take away how can you make how can you impact someone else's life in a positive way. Pat Summitt did that since she was 22 years old, all the way up until Alzheimer's took us from the world at the age of 65, I believe.
64.
64. How can you make that type of impact? How can you not making an impact on someone's life, that makes you normal. Because a lot of people do that.
It's true.
So how can you separate yourself from the norm? Start making an impact on lives.
Start with one person.
That's all it takes. Just one person, and you'll be amazed what type of impact you've made. If you can't impact someone's life, just start with one and see what type of conclusion that comes out to. I guarantee just the one person is going to feel better than probably any type of donation you can make.
It's the chaos theory. The butterfly flaps its wings in Africa and it causes a hurricane. But you can be that butterfly and flap your wings and not create a hurricane, but create something good that turns into something way bigger than you ever imagined.
Think about it, guys. I mean, I'm not trying to get too philosophical, but I just want to make a show where I can educate the people and you walk away with something to take home or something to start the next day with. Just to close it up, and before, well, yeah, we're just going to close it up. Like, as far as Pat, some may say, when it's all said and done, that Gino is going to be the greatest women's coach ever. But in the words of his own daughter, quote unquote, everything my father has done in this world for women's basketball, Pat Summitt did it first. As Pat was taken from this world due to Alzheimer's, we need to make sure that we never forget Pat Summitt. And if you guys care to know a little bit more about Alzheimer's, you can go to www.alzinfo.org. That's www.alzinfo.org. Just to sum it up, Jess, you got anything else to close it out?
No, I think that's it.
I thought this was a pretty awesome episode.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
Hopefully it'll make an impact on someone's life. Before we close it up with the final closing, as I mentioned before on my last podcast, guys, I want to do something special for the city of Greenville. This podcast is small. I'm not making a penny off of this podcast. I do it for fun. I do it because, like Shamika, I battle depression. And this helps me with my depression. It gives me something to look forward to every week. Gives me something to be happy about after the outcome. At first, I was just doing it just to record, just to listen to me and Josh's conversations, because I thought they were pretty awesome. I thought they should be recorded. But thanks to all of you, this has grown to be way, way bigger than I expected. The fact that, other countries are tuning in, other cities, I was like, a couple people from Greenville will listen to it. That'd be cool. And I just want to see if I can get to some of these countries. I think it was 13 countries at one point. Just off this week alone, I have 13% of my listeners in Germany. Simpsonville, Chesney, Fountain Inn, Conway, South Carolina, Plano, Illinois, Piedmont, Nuremberg, Germany, Charlotte, Greer, Gosheim, Germany. I hope I'm pronouncing that to you guys. I didn't think I was going to reach all of those cities and countries. I mean, I've been on in Japan. Let me see. Give me 1 second, guys. I just want to make...
I know Italy.
United Kingdom, yeah, Italy, Thailand, France, Philippines, Spain, New Zealand, Argentina. I didn't see this coming at all. So what I want to do as my gratitude and to thank you guys for helping this small dream start to grow into a brand, I want to do something special just to say thank you. I want to have an event, a listening party. I haven't got the venue yet. That's still in the works. But I need you guys' help to make this happen. I put up a GoFundMe page. I put it up on Twitter. You can check my Facebook page, which is Butler-Smith Pod, or you can go to Enough with the BS Podcast on Facebook. I'm going to have the links there. The goal is $500 to make it happen. I'm only asking if you donate $10. One double cheeseburger meal, extra large. That's all I'm asking for. If you can donate anything, a quarter, 50 cents, anything, I thank you guys for it. I just feel like if we can raise this, I can make this event happen. It's going to be free food, a DJ, photographer. 9/11, the first weekend of the NFL. We're going to have a listening party. We're going to talk about the game. We're going to put you on the show. We're just going to have fun. But this is my way of interacting with people who listen to the show. And just to tell you guys, thank you. Like, y'all mean a lot to me. I want to give something back to you other than the show. It's going to be here in Greenville, South Carolina. Those from you out of the country, if you're in Greenville, please stop by. I would love to meet you. Me and Josh both. It'll be great. But that's pretty much all I have. Just stay on the lookout for that. More news to be coming. And Jess, thank you for joining the show today. This is awesome.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We
it was
definitely gonna have you
fantastic.
back. Definitely.
Yes.
So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. This has been Enough with the BS Podcast, and I'm out.
The whole state of Tennessee's counting on you. You looked at the orange in this building? You know why they're here? For you, and to help you win. But you're the ones that have to get it done, and you better make it happen starting right now.
In the annals of basketball, in the story of the rise of women's sports, Pat Summitt was a pioneer, a game changer. Few made as great an impact. The head coach at Tennessee for nearly 40 years, she changed the way women's sports are coached, played, and perceived. Perhaps more than anything else, she convinced generations of girls that the playground belonged to them, too.
They can dream to get a scholarship. They can dream to be a representative of their country on the basketball court, and it can happen.
Summitt took the reins at Tennessee at the age of 22, earning $250 a month. Among her responsibilities, washing the team's uniforms. Before she turned 30, she'd taken the Lady Vols to the first women's Final Four. 5 years later, she won her first national title.
That'll do it. Tennessee has won the national championship.
And the titles kept coming.
She's been to the summit 3 times now.
And Pat Summitt wins the 4th of her sparkling career, her 5th national championship.
In 1998, Summitt was at the peak of her game. Her Lady Vols went 39-0 on their way to another national championship. They were Summitt's only unbeaten team.
39-0.
Beyond the titles, Summitt was known for her fiery halftime speeches.
People that want a championship stand up and go get it. They don't shy away from it. They're not nervous about it. They're excited about it. And they bring a big old attitude.
And, of course, the stare.
Get over here!
The crystal blue eyes are just looking right through you.
All you have to do is look in her eyes. She doesn't even have to say anything.
Summitt's program was a phenomenon, drawing enormous crowds, generating unprecedented interest for women's team sports. From the dawn of the Title IX era, her Lady Vols embodied the potential and the promise of women in sports.
I've heard Coach Pat say, the world isn't a place you live in, it's a place you change. She changed the face of all sports, not just women's sports.
In the year 2000, Summitt was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Life is great. I oftentimes tell our players, it's never as great as it seems, nor is it as bad. This is pretty awesome.
You can probably trace the rise of the women's game with the rise of her basketball program. So she'll go down as one of the all-time greats in coaching.
She's a fine teacher and knows the game and works hard at becoming better all the time, not becoming satisfied, and being able to keep her youngsters from becoming satisfied.